All right. So there are multiple ways to use Bulma. This is one way. You can download their package at this URL. So I actually did this already. I downloaded this zip file and then I followed the instructions. So cd to the folder and then npm install the dependencies. Npm installs all the dependencies specified in package.json. As you can see here. So under dependencies,
Yeah.
yeah, you can see all the things that were downloaded when I ran npm install, and then npm starts basically it converts. Wait, have you guys done anything on do you guys use SCSS at all?
NCSS.
S
No,
or
we haven't used
SAS?
SCSS.
All right,
We haven't done it.
no problem. It doesn't matter. So SCSS is just an easier way of writing CSS. So what npm starts does here is that it converts the SCSS to normal CSS, because normal CSS that's used in websites, not SAS. All right, so
Okay.
just telling you what dependencies were installed. And okay, so now um yeah, so this is a bomber. This is the default thing that was here. If I open it, it's they're basically giving you instructions. So we can just use the documentation. Let me pull out code for a form. So this is, you don't need to cram this, honestly. Um you can just copy. Oh, there's already a copy button here. You can just copy this, and even in your exam, you can, are they going to be watching you throughout? You can just, for the won't Pius, I don't think Pius will seriously oppose it.
No,
um
Pius said this open book, so
yeah, it's open book here. Okay, so that's good. um so I'm just going to copy this form. And yeah, you can see the form will do. mm, I don't want the form to I don't want the form to cover the entire screen. So I'll just look for the property. Okay, so I'll just create a new div here. Call it class form. Is already okay, there's no div. So basically I want to apply something. I want to apply CSS to the entire form. So, and it's all groups. Every single thing here is separate under their own individual divs. There's no universal div covering all of them. So I want to create that. So sorry, let me just explain that again real quick. Uh so what I did here, I just added a div that covers the entire form, and I called it whole form. And as you can see, that's where it starts and it stops where the form ends, and that's somewhere about here. Actually, I put it at the end of the body, and then in my CSS, I styled it. I changed the width to 30% because initially
your network is really bad.
it's unstable. All right, so yeah. So at this point, I styled it centered and also made it smaller.
Okay.
All right. So what's the next step? So that's basically okay. Next thing, okay, so we probably need to create a navigation bar. I've gone somewhere better now. So now we can just copy a snippet and copy Bulma snippet for a nav bar. So we'll just copy this and place it, go to our HTML, place it above the form. So first, All right, um so yeah, this is like yeah, so we copied the code for a Bulma navigation bar, and you pasted this here basically just above inside the body, pasted it, we pasted it just above the form. So now it looks like, see how everything is coming to shape. So for your test, they told you guys to use MTN, yeah? MTN logo. So let me search for an
Mm-hmm.
MTN logo. All right, and thing about Bulma is that it's very easy to customize your work. Even from the class names, you can customize your work. So that's one good thing about Bulma, and it's automatically responsive. As in, if you reduce the size, everything just adjusts. Look at this. See how this just came up. Although this, like, if you want to implement this, you need some JavaScript. This
Oh,
drop down, this hamburger menu thing. But it's just like there's a standard snippet for it. It doesn't take much. I can even get it now, but let's not go into that. Um,
okay.
okay, so now we have our nav bar. Now we want to customize it a little bit. Let's get um let me just get random NTN logo. All right, this is my duo. So save it to desktop. And now just look for where the image was inserted, and first of all, first things first, where did I download this? Let me rename it so that it's easier to reference. So I'll just rename it IMG. Then I'm going to drag it to my Visual Studio Code. Uh, I'll just drag it here. I mean, the standard thing to do would be to create an image folder, but whatever. So now you can just reference it. So the path.
Mm.
So dot slash means the same directory.
I thought JavaScript usually use PNG.
I mean, depend. PNG is obviously the best. The I think PNG is the best to use, but I mean, it uses any formats, but PNG is the best because PNG is not PNG is the best image format because um it's like it can go transparent, it's adjustable, it's very flexible. But like for all these for like responsive design,
Okay.
professional stuff, like they use SVGs. They're like they are not images, they're like drawings. I think it means
Okay.
scalar, wait, something vector graphics. SVG,
Okay. Okay.
scalable vector graphics, yeah. All right, so yeah, I mean, then now just change the text to what you need it to be. And imagine you want to add a new navbar item. It's very, very straightforward. Just copy and paste this. Okay, that there's a div there, so I'll just put this right under this. I don't want it to be styled like that div. So documentation, let's see, pricing. So what else? What would registration, sign up, login? All right. So now you can change the color
You
of,
copy and paste. So if your
you can
screen
copy
keeps
and
on
paste.
pausing now.
Okay, you can copy and paste like this, like these 3 lines of code, and just paste them, and it replicates exactly what was here. See how we just okay, let me undo that. There are 3 things here. Just Control Shift Z, and now there are 4 things here because I added pricing. Okay, so just am I recording? Am I recording?
No.
I'm
Okay,
not.
you are, you are, you are, you
Okay,
are, you are,
okay.
you are, you are.
All right. So uh, this is like, okay. Then when you now want a drop down option, you can now this is from their main CSS. their main CSS file, like this is from Bulma. So they have a CSS configuration basically that they have that's like this. So they've already styled it, put in everything for a drop down menu. They've done all the styling, and then all you have to do once you just put this, to have this logo, to have this caret sign, and then you can now add the contents of the drop down here. So when you want to create, if you want to create an add drop down, just copy the syntax, paste. Basically, that's all you have to do. Then um button is lights. Okay, I don't know. I'm not. There's like a
Wait,
syntax.
how do you add things to the drop down menu, like the content?
Yeah, see
How
what
do
they
you
did here. Okay, I'm coming. So see what they did here, yeah. So this is the drop down. This is the drop down button. This more is the drop down button. So under the drop, if you notice one difference between these and this is that it has this extra class nav bar. This it has an anchor tag nav with class of nav bar link, and it has another div nav bar item. It has a drop down and it's hoverable. What do they mean by it's hoverable? When you hover over it, an action will happen. So um after
okay?
once you hover, yeah, so that's basically the class. They've done everything for you, all the CSS, they've done it. So under here you now add like the contents. So under the class navbar drop down, navbar drop down, you now add the navbar items, about, jobs, more, contacts, report an issue, as you can see here. So before that, they put a divider. This divider is basically just a line. Is all they've already implemented it. So without further ado, let's go to the okay. So this, I don't know exactly. I'll check. I'll Google this now if this doesn't work. Well, I don't know how their syntax works. Okay, apparently that's not how they do this. So basically, like you can just the whole idea of this CSS framework is that you can literally just edit a button. Like you can customize your button or make a button a certain trace by just typing a sentence like this. They try to make it like words. For instance, you can type button is red. No, is that's not the keyword per se here. But like for instance, in a library, you can type button is red, and then you've gotten a HTML button as red. So yeah, that's a good thing about it. So let's just check set button color bomb. I mean, you can do it from CSS the hard way, but like they probably have a red button implemented already. So yeah, you don't have to do that. So all you have to do is like just yeah, just use what they've done. Okay. Okay, let me use this other one as an example. My internet is quite shit. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can't really hear you. Your this thing is cracking. I think it's from my side, sure.
Sure. All right. So okay. So the what they set for it is
School,
button is
I
warning.
can't really hear it. School Wi-Fi is having
Oh yeah,
problem.
yeah, yeah. It has been really bad today. So yeah, you can see the customizations here. So there's white, light, dark, black text, ghost. So let's try ghost now. So primary is basically Bulma's primary color, and that's that greenish, that green button. Yeah, so ghost is basically transparent. So all right, so basically like now for, can you, if you stop hearing me, just say
Okay.
okay. So now everything is coming together, and yeah, so you can just customize the rest of the stuff. customize the rest of the stuff. Like for that bio data assignment, I don't know what they asked for, but name, username. You can remove this. Can remove this. Doesn't need to be there. And that's although there's a but that you don't have to do that. You can actually set these things to be um rendered dynamically. For instance, when the password is actually weak or something, yeah, it would render dynamically. But um yeah, you probably there's not a requirement, so let's just flash it.
Okay.
All right, so yeah, then backend. So that's it. Your front end is you have your form. So now
Okay.
it's
Okay.
backend,
So now,
backend, backend.
now the backend.
Mm, I would have really liked to have like something to work with, right? And a pre-existing. Okay, okay. So now we're going to more or less done with the front end, and now we need to create a platform for data to be collected and connected to a database. So we need a backend. And our framework, we're going to be using Nestjs framework, as you know. So how do we begin? So let's create a Nest project. Nest new Nest new form project. So now we're going to use the npm package. We're just going to wait for that to install. And finally, the project is done scaffolding. So um yeah, so we're just going to do as they say, cd into the project, cd form project and npm run start. Sorry, this thing is blocking my all right. npm run starts. Okay, so this is going to start running the application on a port in our system. So we just wait. I've done a lot of waiting. Now we just wait for the URL. Okay, before that, let's just check something. Main.ts. Okay, so let me add a script. So it's to tell us, let me add a line of code that said the script. So it's tell us what port it's running on. Console.log string literal app is running on okay, then we inject some JavaScript in there. Okay, so let's rerun. I'm actually not charging my system, so things are slower. Uh, whatever this is. So let's open this port. Yes, as you can see, hello world. So it's working. Um, all right, so what is next? So now we need to create resources. So let's open a new terminal. cd form projects. Now we're going to be creating a form that takes in user data basically, and obviously we need a backend to support users. So I think that's the only one we're going to create. So let's create nest generate resource users. I'll just call it user. So it's a REST API. Yeah, generate endpoints. Okay, that was fast. So now we've created a user module, and yeah, under entities now we have to uh import a few things. Honestly, now we need type ORM, npm install type ORM. Okay, so while we importing type ORM, there's some what are they called? There are some decorators in type ORM that we want to use here. So inside our class user, we want to yeah, this is basically the equivalent of models of py in Python, and when you're using Flask. So we're trying to create user and also associate it with a database and establish all its properties as columns in a database. So import um just test this. Actually, I wasn't meant to install type ORM. I was meant to install Nestjs slash type ORM. So this is basically Nestjs's support for type ORM all in one package. So import column from, I'll just put this here beforehand, at Nestjs just type ORM. Uh okay, so let me just see the options. Import. Import what else? What else? Entity. All right, so I'll just check. All right, so at this point, okay, so at this point, we've created um this user entity is the equivalent more or less of modules in of your model.py and Flask. So here we're going to create like basically um a class that supports that can be more or less translated to a database using an ORM, and in this case we're using type ORM. So I'm going to import some things from type ORM entity column yeah, and we'll see more things that we'll need as we go on. So yeah, now we're going to populate what should the user have, what do you have on the form. So basically the form data can go here. So the first thing I can think of, I remember that we had there, we're trying to do this as fast as possible. So um uh before anything, you have to use this entity decorator, and we're going to use it above this class. So just to make sure, you're basically saying this is an entity. So this decorator is like a label. You're saying this is an entity. So we'll have an error here at first, but don't worry about it. Because we haven't put our brackets. And inside here we can now populate this. So first column, put your brackets. So of course you need an ID. So let's just make our first column. Um okay, so I might need something else. So our first column, let's just set everything to nullable. So nullable means can it be empty? So at first you might not populate it, so let's just leave it at nullable. You understand that in future as we go on. So first column, name, then you put the type of the data that this column will accept, and then we can't keep doing that. So what else do we specify that we needed there? Shift tab, create a new column. So I'm just trying to put this at the same line. All right, so make a new column, set nullable to true. Then set the property was going to be inside the column. So let's just make our code clean. All right, so second column is going to have let's see, your name. Um your name would be a string, right? Then next column would be I really don't know. So also set this to nullable. Let's look at our form to know what else we put there. Okay, email. So these are the three we're going to be doing for now. Others can come later. This is just a demo. So string as well. And then we can also, why not? We can make an ID for, let's import something else, generated. So generated is basically a decorator for something that should be generated. For instance, like an ID. We're not going to assign IDs for every user individually, so it's better for the system to generate it automatically. At generated at column. Okay, so we're creating a generated column now called ID. Then it's going to be a number, and we're also going to import something called index. So basically, what is it going to use as an identifier, sort of? So the ID is an identifier, as the name implies. So we're going to add it here as well. It's the index column. So we put all three of that for ID. So now this is more or less our database. And typeworm is going to help us make it what it's meant to be, more or less. So yeah, so that's all for this. And then we need to make a DTO that matches this. So yeah, we'll make everything read only. Hmm. So the DTO is not to be changed. You can only change data from the entity level, and it should not be changed. So DTO stands for data transfer objects. The data should not be changed while it's being transferred. It should only be changed as entity layer. So this DTO is just like an interface. So basically the whatever you put in database, we passed into a DTO and then yeah, used. So read only name, string, it's just an object containing basically everything that's in the entity. So it's like an ambassador for the entity more or less. But you don't put the ID here. Read only name string, read only what else do we put? Name strings, read only. What else? What else? What else? Email string as well. What's the complaint about commas? Oh, sorry. I just realized that every single thing is a new line. Okay, so this is our DTO and we'll just copy this. Wonder what this is. We'll just make this this user DTO. So more or less we are done with our entity and yeah, we're done with our entity layer and now we need we need to be able to talk with a database. Now I'm using Postgres and all right, so um what was I? So now we need to talk to the database and for that I'm going to create a module, a database module just for that. So inside our form project, still within the backend, we are going to make a new file. Just call it app.database module. But yeah, it's always good to be specific when you're making your names. So now we populate this with configurations. So this is basically structured. It's going to be structured like this, but yeah, it's going to be structured like this more or less. Um, so let me just copy this. It's going to be structured similarly to this, but it's going to contain a configuration basically for our database. So where did I create this? Did I create this in the wrong place? Sorry, where is this? Okay, I created this in the wrong place, so I'll just move it up here. Yeah, move it to SRC. So what are we importing? So we're going to be importing quite a few things. Import module from, it's also a decorator from Nestjs/common. Okay, so I need to install that apparently. So cd CD form projects. npm install, but Nestjs command should be there already. npm install um oh shit, sorry. I just realized I was, yeah, so that was a mistake. I didn't put the @ sign. Okay, so import a type ORM module. So this is not, it's not also created, it's from type ORM. How do you spell this again? Module from Nestjs / type ORM. Okay, then what else do we need? Okay, it's a configuration file. We're going to configure a database basically. So we need Nestjs config module. Nestjs, I don't think I have this, so I need to install it. Nestjs/config. Then in the meantime, I'll be importing other things. User module. So this is the module we created ourselves from so where is user dot / user slash user module. Okay, so that is more or less all for imports. Now I'm just going to copy this code snippet. Let's copy this code snippet. Excuse me while I do that. All right, so now we're going to be using all our imports here. So this is from a project I did earlier, and these are my Postgres details. Just change name of database to change name of database to Nest form. And yeah, so now we export. Sorry, I missed out a couple things. Okay, so import config module, config service. All right, so this is busy. We've configured our database module basically. Yeah. So what next? What next? What next? What next? Let me just check if everything is correct. All right, so I'm just going to replace this with my Postgres password. And you should do that with the system you're on. So this basically Um, let me just look a little bit at the back end. All right, so I'm just going to it reads data from a file. No, I didn't buy anything. So inside that file, we're going to, although I already kind of specified it there, I'm still going to, I'll still redo that in my .m file. So, what's the name of our database? Nest form, yeah. So it is nest form. I'll just verifying if I have to put quotation marks around it. So what else? Postgres. So Postgres host is using localhost. Host Postgres. Oh shit. Postgres user is Postgres. So this .env file is for specifying environmental variables. Yeah. So it's usually done in productions. It's like a professional way of doing things because you're not just going to write like your whole administrator password, your Postgres password, and publish it on GitHub for your whole organization to see. So it's better to read from the .env file, and then when you push it to GitHub, you can just leave that out. And then your configuration, your Postgres password won't be the same with every other person's Postgres password. So it's basically you just tell the person to create his own his own .env file for it to read from. So Postgres password, go to page one. So that is basically it. I'm missing one thing, Postgres ports. Yeah, so the port is basically a specifier. What port does Postgres run on? And we all know by default, Postgres runs on port 5432. Yeah, so at this point, I honestly I can't think of what's missing. Okay, so at this point, the only thing left to do is add stuff, populate the controller and the service. So let's just check if our backend is working so far. Sorry, CD nest form. Yeah, that's what I called it. What I call it, CD form project CD. All right, so npm run start dev. All right, so after this, we're going to configure our controllers to be able to create new users, do all of that shit. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to copy this link. How do I know? Okay, I want to change what it's running on. Making YouTube tutorial, G. Making a tutorial.
Why are you outside?
Network. I'm using my data. It doesn't work in my room. All right, so as we know, we're going to test. So far we Postman. Let's see if our code is actually working. So Postman is used for testing things like this. So we're running on port 3000 here. Um, let's just check our controller. What is in our controller? What is the endpoint? Okay, so it's user. So 360 is slash user. So let's see. All right. So let's get. So get is a HTTP verb. All right. So as you can see, this is what is in our code. I'm sorry. Let me check the service. This is in controller service. You did that. It was in service. Okay. So this is already in our code. So it comes like this came when I generated this code came when I generated the resource. So as you can see, we tested this and it's working. Ah, good news. First time it works. So now yeah, so now we need to actually create actual logic here. So instead of returning this action creating user, so we're going to I'm going to introduce you to something called repositories, which are like stores where it's going to store information and stuff. I'll be back in a few seconds. Cool. All right, so we've made sure the user's endpoint is working through Postman, and right now we need to actually assign real actions, proper actions that we'll be using in the logic of the application to the service. So the service basically contains methods. You can describe methods as more or less functions. You can describe methods as functions, things that help you do something within the context of your application. So yeah, we're going to need a couple more not a couple, about four more dependencies here and two dependencies from packages that we installed previously. And one of those is repository. So repository is a data store, as I mentioned earlier. So repository is I think it's from type ORM. So import repository from type ORM. All right, the next thing we are going to need is injectable, yeah, injectable from Nestjs. Okay, I've already imported that, so yeah, that's good. And then we import. Okay, we already have the details here for users. And the last thing we would probably need is the entity itself, the user entity. So import user from dot slash entities slash user dot entity. Perfect. All right, now how do we go about implementing the actual logic of the application? So basically the major methods that we need already, they've created the function, the method blocks. All we have to do now is implement them. So just all right, so I'm back. So now we need to implement the actual logic in the application. So we're going to have to make use of the repository module that we imported. Okay, so Okay, so I missed out a package and I had to sort that out. The inject repository package, which I just imported from Nestjs slash type or Nestjs type or. So now how do we make use of inject repository? So we create a constructor for the class. So let's create a constructor. Shift tab. Um, so a constructor. Let's need to go into that now. We're just use your inject repository. So basically, what you're doing here, I'll just type this line of code and I'll explain everything I do. Okay, so here we're dealing with users, private. So it is of type repository. Wait. All right, so this is our constructor. Um, okay, so now we've initialized. So what we did here, we basically added the user repository to the constructor. So what anytime you're calling a user service is going to take an argument of user repository, and that user repository is of type the repository type that are imported from type ORM, but like an instantiation of user within the repository type. Okay, so um now let's implement the create method. So obviously, the name implies, creates means to create a user. So um okay, so let's create a variable new user. New user is equal to so now we're dealing with objects. So since products repository is within the scope of the constructor, use this. So this dot user repository dot create. So I'm not going to. I feel like going into details on this will confuse you, but so create is a method. Same way we're going to use we're creating methods here that have to do with user service. This creates imagine this user repository is created exactly how we created this user service here. So these methods there's a create method under user repository, same way there's a create method under this. So so a new user is equal is a creation of okay. Okay, so let's just do something. Let's make this a promise of type user. So this create is going to return a user, a promise that has to do with a user. So the create using the create user DTO as a structure, just create something that is like create something with the reference of create user DTO. Basically, that's what we're saying here. And return. Let's just use an await so that yeah, it doesn't next thing doesn't comment what's that word? So the next line of code doesn't commence before this finishes. So just say the code should wait for this command to finish. So this dot sorry user I keep making using rising product. dot save. So now we're creating and saving the new user. Yeah, so why is this complaining? Or I have two returns. So I'm just going to go down here. Why are you complaining? So what is going on here? Return awaits this product.save. Yes, so as I was saying, async always goes with awaits, so time-based promises. All right, so let's test out. Let's test. Um, okay, so I'm just going to test it on postman. So I'm going to post. Okay, I'll just remove this. So what we made it, you had a name field. We're just going to create a test. Let's just create a test. Joseph. Email bb@bb.com. What else? NIN. Just put something like an ID. That was all right. Let's check our entity just to be sure. All right, name, string, name, email. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but let me just organize it properly. All right. So let's try and post. I don't think I'm still running this, so I'll run it again. npm run start. Actually, cd. So there was an error there because I had not started running the application on that port. So cd form projects npm run start. Just note that I'm only taking so much time because I'm actually trying to teach. Okay, I just realized I did not do something. Import the module containing. Yeah, just to bring us back a bit, I realized that um I had not imported products. Sorry. I've not imported the user entity in the scope of the user module. So yeah, that created kind of an issue. I thought Nest would do that automatically. That was part of the scaffolding process. So um we're using type ORM here. So I'm just going to don't really I got this. I'm getting most of this from the documentation. So I'm just going to type this. Just going to copy the type ORM though for feature. So I'm now going to import type ORM module. Import type ORM module from is it from Nestjs or is it from type ORM? Nestjs slash type. Okay, it is from type ORM. Then I'll import the user entity from dot slash entity slash All right, so I think that should fix our bug. Let's just give that a try. CD form practice. CD form. What do I need? I keep forgetting why I named this thing. Form project and npm run start. Hopefully that deals with the bug. npm run start dev. Hopefully that deals with the bug. It did not deal with the bug. Okay, second bug, similar thing, but with the app controller. I had not added the other things. Config module. I not added other things to the scope of the app controller. So we're just going to add these two things. Add the config module and add the database module. So those are two things we're importing. And let's try and run it again. All right. So as you can see now, it's trying to connect to our database. We don't have it. So let's just install the Postgres tool for npm. So basically our issue is solved and it's just about connecting to database. And then I'm going to create our database from pgadmin. Just going to stop share momentarily. I start share again. Okay, I'm going to open pgadmin now. So from pgadmin, we are now going to create a new database for this. Okay, so what did I call the database? I called it I'm just going to check. And my .env. Okay, wrong file. My .env file, I called it nest form. Okay, so nest. All right, and we are going to try to establish a connection to that database. Ah, shit, that's not what I meant to do. I'm just going to cancel this. Okay. All right, so yeah, this is a problem with our code. So we need a primary generated column, basically. Okay, so I'll just make this primary generated column. All right, well, that should fix this. All right, so okay. In that case, I'm just going to use both of them separately generated. Primary. All right, so I think it should be working now, and let's try the one thing we have created, which is creating users. Let's try and create a user now, and boom, it works. So yeah, that's good. Now let's create a different user. Papa, change the name. I should probably put different things there. Change the email. All right, then post. All right, so as you can see, the IDs are being generated automatically. And now if we get users, oh, we have not implemented gets, but don't worry, that's very simple to do. So forget, so we follow the same logic here. We just return this does user repository does find. All right, so let's try that out now. So as you can see, it returns all the users, and that's where I'm going to stop for now. I hope this helps at least a little bit, just to understand the back end and front end a little bit. So now you can just apply this logic to now you know how to make your application read data. You know how to use endpoints, you know how to yeah, so basically we've done data storage and data retrieval. And let me show you our PG admin. We've also created a table. Let's look at our database. So as you can see here, we actually have a database. So it wasn't just, so this is a database created automatically because of our ORM. And yeah, so imagine you are actually doing this. So now I'll do another tutorial tomorrow on connecting your backend to your front end. But in terms of your backend, you've created the whole logic for now. All you have to do is assign, like when you type something to a form, it's now go through this process. That's all you have to do, and it's not hard to implement. That's just that I'm tired. But tomorrow, sure, I'll take you through on that. So bye for now.